Baylor, who was the designated sitter in New York, now gets a chance to rough up a former teammate. He played with Davy Johnson in Baltimore. 15 years he has waited for this moment, and he's in the World Series.
That was interesting. That was a new ball they put in play after fouling it off, and Baylor wanted to check it before he even threw it. Maybe the pollution is greater than I think.
1 ball and 1 strike. Well, 2-1. Usually pitchers like to pitch away from Baylor, particularly here in Fenway, and throw him a lot of off-speed pitches. Rice is still ticked off about that strike 3 call. 2-1. Ball 3, so he went 3-2 to Rice and got him, and he comes back 3-1 to Baylor.
Very difficult as we look at Davy Johnson to pitch Baylor any place but away, and if you don't have the real good spot, he can flick that bat and play wall ball with you.
3-1 to Don. And that's hammered to left field, high and deep and off the wall. Mookie Wilson playing it into second base, and Baylor's in there with a double.
That was not a hard swing. He just kind of lifted that ball.
Bobby Ojeda gives up a double to Don Baylor, and now the chant Dewey for Dwight Evans.
There it is, and Mookie Wilson plays it well. A high towering drive. Mookie was right there, 2-base hit.
Well, here is Evans now trying to help the Red Sox get back. Baylor at second, 1 out in the second inning. And it is 4-0 Mets, and he squirts it off the end of the bat to Santana. Throws him out, and of course Baylor has to hold. Boy, was Evans out in front of that. 2 down, and here comes Ojeda's best friend, Rich Gedman. And if anyone should know him, what's that old Bertie Tebbets line? I can hit any pitcher I ever caught.
That's what Bertie always said.
Would you agree with that?
No. I caught a lot of pitchers, couldn't hit any of them. I mean, it sounds nice, but I don't believe it.
Well, let's see about the battle. Big slow jug, and he missed with it. Ball 1. 1-0.
The one thing that it does, though, if you've caught a fella, is you know what he likes to go to in a particular spot. But then again, you have to think, well, he knows that too, so here goes that cat and mouse game.
Remember, Gedman is that unusual left-hand hitter who is a high ball hitter. Baylor at second, 2 out in the second inning, 4-0 Mets. For Baylor to hit the wall for a double, that's old hat here. The Sox led the majors with doubles. 1-0. He got it high. Gedman went after it, fouled it back. 1-1.
Well, you can see why he would like that ball better up than down because of that swing. Again, it's that Reniac watch now. He'll let that top hand go off, and he swings down on the ball. Now, his home run production will go down with that, but he'll get more base hits according to the theory.
1-1. The count to Gedman. Baylor waiting to be picked up at second base. Big, slow, and it missed. Ball 2. 2-1. He came back with pretty much of his best fastball, and the count 2-2. Ojeda handled a couple of comebackers in the first inning, struck out a batter in the second, and of course that's a key. A 3-2 pitch that was eyeballed by Harry Wendelstedt for strike 3. If it's ball 4, Baylor's double really puts the Sox in business. Instead, Rice called out, so Baylor's at second and no runs in. Deuce is wild on Gedman. Got him on the corner with the fastball. So he strikes out 2. The Sox leave Baylor. It's 4-0 Mets. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Tonight's game is brought to you by Nuprin. Discover Nuprin strength. By Wendy's, now introducing the big classic hamburger. This is the good stuff.
Gary Connor,
4-0 in favor of the Mets as we go to the third inning. Gary Carter, Darryl Strawberry, and Ray Knight against Oil Can Boyd. Strike. 0-1.
Looked like Gedman was searching for Oil Can's curveball, and they seem to have found it. Another good one.
0-1 to Carter, who cracks his bat and lifts a fly ball to shallow center, and Henderson is there. You could hear that thing crack. Carter doubled, you remember, in the first inning. So one away, and Strawberry coming out.
John McNamara is complaining about Ojeda going to his mouth, spitting in his hand. Doesn't like that at all. All I'm doing is I'm asking. Cross my heart, I saw him do it.
Remember the 2 games in New York?
He tried. It was good.
And with the cold weather, they were allowed to do it. I don't think that there was any provision for that tonight, because the weather is really almost balmy. 0-1.
Gooden taking the Band-Aid off his finger. It wasn't even his pitching hand, but anything to upset a pitcher.
Well, here's Strawberry. It looks like he inherits an 0-2 count. 0-1. I'm sure you get to that point after a while where you walk up to the plate and you think, is it already 0-2?
Well, I tell you, he's in one of those things, you're confused and you're getting all kinds of advice.
Fastball hit down the left field line, starting to curl foul and well out of play.
When it's considered a slump, you go to your batting coach, and the old age-old baseball thing, a slump is like the common cold. It's going to last 2 weeks, regardless of what you do. But the toughest thing is just to be able to discard all the friendly advice you get on your way to the batter's box.
1-2. Well, he got out in front of that fastball and pulled it into the Sox dugout. So he got the pitch he wanted and went out in front of it.
You're not hitting, you have really no good idea of the strike zone, and that ball was low inside, out of the zone.
And he hits that one to right center. Henderson, however, is there. So 2 down, top of the third, and the batter will be Ray Knight. The Mets had a home run by Lenny Dykstra. That started them off in the right direction. They had 4 more hits, including a double by Carter. The Sox messed up a rundown play, and the Mets put 4 in the bank. The Sox had a 1-out double by Baylor after a key strikeout call against Rice opened up the second inning. And we're now in the third. 0-1.
That was interesting. We saw Gedman give the sign. He gave the sign, shook him off, came back, and then he indicated overhand curveball. I've never seen a sign given like that. It was just rolled his wrist.
1-0. Fouled off first, down the line, and out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. It was Ray Knight who hit the ground ball to Wade Boggs. The Sox had a golden opportunity, and they were unable to get an out. Popped it up on the right side. Barrett going out looking for a little help. Evans comes along behind him, and it'll be Barrett anyway. So the Mets are out in order for the second time. That's 8 in a row retired by the can, but it's 4-0 New York. Bobby Ojeda going to work in the bottom of the third. The Mets leading the Sox 4-0. It'll be Dave Henderson, Spike Owen, and then Wade Boggs. Turn that off-speed pitch off, and it really danced away. 1 ball and no strikes. The Sox know how good a pitcher Bobby Ojeda can be. Remember 2 years ago when the Detroit Tigers ran away? They were 35-5 at the start of the year. One of the 5 defeats that Detroit suffered, 1-0 at the hands of Bobby Ojeda, who was then wearing a Sox uniform. He struck out 10. Line to left field, base hit. Mookie over to backhand the ball, and Henderson holding, and the throw comes all the way through to Wally Backman.
You have to establish inside here, but if you miss your target, the wall makes you pay a big price. Here's Ojeda to Rice, inside. To Baylor, inside. Now watch Baylor flick it when he got it just out over the plate, and the wall says, hey, cash me in. Two-base hit. And now Henderson just drills one to left.
So the batter is on with Henderson at first and nobody out, and Wade Boggs on deck. Third inning, 4-0 New York. Change, and he missed with it. In fact, Carter whirling on Wendelstedt. 1 ball and no strikes.
I tell you, if he had ideas to bunt, that would have been the perfect pitch, because second baseman Backman has to cheat towards the bag. If he pushes it past Ojeda, who is a pretty good fielder, as indicated already, that's the guy he gets a by, and it's a base hit. And he had a good pitch, the off-speed pitch.
1 ball and no strikes to Spike.
The feeling watching Carter constantly looking down to first base that he thinks Riniak may be stealing some signs. I mean, I shot from center field. He's looking all over the place. There he goes again, down first base, and Wall is out of the coach's box.
Henderson held on at first by Keith Hernandez. In there.
That time you saw him, he looked up at Spike Owen, and he looked at first base. He's checking around. He's just checking his whole ballpark, and including the hitter.
Walt Riniak coaching at first. Rene Latchman over at third. There's the pride of Natick, Massachusetts, Walt Riniak. 2-1. In there again, 2-2. A maddening pitcher is Bobby Ojeda.
Changing speeds, that's the thing he does so well. And I tell you, when he establishes that fastball inside and then changes speeds, it could be like 3 pitches.
His move to first is rated slow from the plate, very slow. So he's borderline average trying to throw to first. We haven't seen him go over there. Check swing, a looper tonight, back to first, not in time. So Owen lines to third, 1 away, and the batter will be Wade Boggs.
Wade Boggs, who tries to put in his mind a pitcher in the American League who is similar to Ojeda, names Charlie Lebrand as the guy. And his target would be from the speakers in center field to the left field line. Although with that big gap in first, between first and second, look out.
Remember, he hit back to the box in the first inning. Ball 1, 1-0. Interesting about the Sox, they won 51 games at home this year, but they only hit 55 home runs at home. This is a whole new Boston edition. Ball 2. 2-0 to Boggs. New York, bottom of the third, 1 away. Missed again. We're behind 3-0. That means Marty Barrett on deck. Becomes potentially the tying run. And of course at Fenway Park, well, make it almost a tying run in the dugout, would be Bill Buckner. They get you back in the game in a hurry here. That's a strike. 3-1. Boggs, who led the majors in walks, has the count his way. Four runs, 5 hits for Davy Johnson and the Mets. No runs, 2 hits for the Sox and John McNamara. Henderson holding, and Boggs, ball 4. Barrett, who hit back to the box, but sharply. Remember, it was backhanded by Ojeda. Barrett coming up, and then Buckner.
And Hernandez just motioned it back, but now he hits over here. Be alive. He likes that ball inside to slice it that way, and in and out, inside out swing.
And ball 1. So Ojeda now perhaps trying to be too fine, and he's behind yet to another hitter, and Carter going out to say, let me have a strike.
That that's the kind of a look that a pitcher gives you when he says, hey, that was a strike. The fact that he called it a ball, I can't do anything about it. And what Carter's simply trying to do is to settle him down and say, hey, once again, can't make a play if you don't give us a chance.
And it's not as if it was, let's say, an American League umpire who was unaccustomed to calling balls and strikes with Ojeda. Harry Wendelstedt is of the National League. 1 ball and no strikes to Marty Barrett. In there. 1-1. 2 on. You have Henderson at second, Boggs at first, and Barrett at the plate. Buckner on deck. 1 away. There's the change, hit to the hole into right field, base hit. They're sending Henderson home. Strawberry's throw not in time.
Up his mind to go that way, and he can handle that ball, the off-speed pitch. You see Johnson talking just strictly to Ojeda and just checking to settle him down. Right in the hole. He just punched it inside out. Strawberry comes up throwing strong arm, but not as accurate as he's going to get, and no play at all. Henderson, he doesn't hesitate. He's digging hard. Didn't even look at the coach, although you could see Latchman waving him on. Down, says Buckner. Everybody doing their job.
So Henderson is in with the Sox run. Boggs stopping at second base. And the batter is Bill Buckner, who flied to right field in the first inning. 4-1 New York, and here come the Sox in the third. On deck, Jim Rice. Part of the plate.
During batting practice, Buckner took some extra hitting, and he was trying to hit the ball from center field over, although they are playing him straight away.
Remember, he hit an off-speed pitch Sunday night for a base hit to right field. Part of the book on Buck is to throw a lot of slow stuff. He has a tendency to ground the ball. That's one reason, along with his bad wheels, why he led the major leagues. In fact, he was second in grounding into double plays. Fastball hit down the line, foul, and out of play. 0-2.
That's the thing he wants to do. That's why many people think that the left-hand hitter in this park is really better off than the right-hander, because you don't really have to hit that ball that hard to the opposite field. And if you pull the ball with any kind of power, you can reach the seats down the line, and you have a lot of room in right center field. But left field, you don't have to hit it that hard and hit that wall.
Interesting. You know, the Red Sox have produced a batting champion 18 times and only 2 right-hand batters. Barney Lansford and Dale Alexander, the only 2. 0-2 to Billy Bucks. Curveball, and he just did get a piece as he throws his bat at it.
That's the new term in baseball. It's the emergency swing. In case it's close, it's an emergency. Get a piece of it, and he does. He's fooled on it, and there goes the bat. Now that's really the Charlie Lau theory overdone, I believe.
Yes, except he's only struck out 25 times all year. Mel Stottlemyre sweating out Bobby Ojeda's performance right now, the Mets pitching coach. 0-2, the count to Bill Buckner.
And Dykstra has moved over towards left center field. They expect him to hit from center field to the left field line.
And got him on a pitch up. And that might even have been out of the strike zone. It was borderline, and Buckner angry at himself. There's a fellow who doesn't strike out and just did. That's the 3rd strikeout for Ojeda. And the batter is Jim Rice.
And here's why Davey Johnson goes out to talk to his pitcher. In this ballpark, you got a guy like Rice, 2 guys on. You know what that means. A 4-run lead isn't very much here.
And now it's a 3-run lead with the Mets leading 4-1. And Rice could get him even in a hurry. Fastball hit and short hop by Santana. Feeds Backman and they're out of the jam. 2 hits and a walk, a run in and 2 left. And at the end of 3, 4-1 New York. That's the wall as Danny Heap steps in. Heap followed by Wilson and Santana. When Fenway Park was built in 1912, the first wall was made of wood, but they had a fire here in 34, so they had to rebuild it. And it was made out of tin with thousands of metal rivets to keep it in place. There's a ladder that goes alongside the scoreboard to the top of the wall, and if the ball hits the ladder, no one has any idea of where the ball will go. It went from wall to tin to fiberglass-like surface, which it has now. Besides the scoreboard and the ladder, when Freddie Lynn came here, they had to pad the wall to make sure he wouldn't be injured. Fly ball into center. Dave Henderson is there. 1 down. The wall is 37 feet high. As you look at the padding, there's two feet, I believe, of concrete below the pad. Then atop the 37-foot wall is the screen. And behind the wall is Lansdowne Street. And then you go on a little bit more and you get to the Massachusetts Turnpike, and if you keep going, Commonwealth Avenue. Here's Mookie Wilson. Mookie went down on strikes in the first inning.
It's pretty apparent that Oil Can, starting ahead of those hitters now, has found his curveball. He's turning the ball over, and he seems to have settled down.
In between pitches, because so much has been said about the wall, left field here is almost a museum. Since 1939, there have only been 3 left fielders: Ted Williams, Carl Yastrzemski, and Jim Rice. And on the scoreboard, there they are. If you look at the scoreboard, there's a long white line under the P for pitcher and between the runs and pitchers when they give the scores. We'll show you that for good reason. Hopper to Barrett, and the play goes to Buckner. 2 down. It is in a sense ironic as we look at the scoreboard in left field. If you are an expert in Morse code, you'll see dash, dot dash, dash, dot dash, dash, etc. On the left side spells out the initials T-A-Y. On the right side, J-R-Y for Thomas and Gene Yawkey. And isn't it interesting that the Red Sox got into the World Series by beating an old Western Union telegrapher by the name of Gene Autry? Here's Santana, hit into a force play in the first inning.
He's got the control of the curveball now, that overhand curveball. He is just dropping it right off the end of the table.
Oh, he's on a roll. He's retired 10 in a row. 1 strike. So the question now is, has the horse disappeared out of sight, or can the Sox catch up, giving the 4 runs in the first inning? Oil Can Boyd had really settled down. That's the story up to here. Knowing his background, I guess you expect him to be high-strung and damaged by it in the first inning. 2-2.
He just changed speeds that time. Santana way out in front.
Little ground ball to third, trying to time it as Boggs. Santana runs pretty well, but Boggs shoots him down anyway. 11 in a row, retired by Oil Can Boyd at the end of 3 1/2, 4-1 New York.
Another little game within Gedman as he gives his sign. Now he wants the curveball. We talked about Oil Can having trouble seeing his signs. Now he gives it, but watch what he does. Curveball. He pretty well tells him just come right on over the top. No doubt about what that was going to be.
Now in the bottom of the fourth inning, we'll see about any doubt for Bobby Ojeda. He surrendered a run on 2 hits and a walk in the third inning, and he'll be facing Baylor, who doubled, followed by Evans and Gedman. He looked at them in the second inning.
Can't help but think, Vin, in a World Series, the simplest way is still the best.
Yeah, that's right. Just show him if you're having any trouble at all. Flooded ball that misses, ball 1, 1-0. Pops the change foul. Ray Knight coming over along with Gary Carter. Neither man will have a play.
One of the things about pitching inside in this ballpark, if you miss, you want to miss towards the right-handed batter because you want him, if he swings, to pull it foul. Because if you miss a little bit out over that plate, again, that wall will ask you to pay a pretty stiff price. And the guys that really show you that are guys like Rice and Baylor, who's up there now. He's right on top of that plate. Look at Carter just looking all over the place.
1-1. Ball 2, 2-1. The temperature tonight at the start of the game in Boston, 66 degrees. Mets 4, Red Sox 1, bottom of the fourth. Ground ball to the hole. Santana with the long throw. One away.
Santana's one of those shortstops. It's a career wrecker. I mean by that, he gets it and he holds it. It makes you run the whole distance, and he just gets you by a step. There are other guys that'll throw you out 2 feet from the batter's box, but not Santana. Now watch, he'll hold it, and now he flicks it, figuring an accurate throw is better than a hard throw, and Baylor had to run the whole distance.
Santana is the opposite of Sean Dunston of the Cubs, who has an incredible arm. He just picks the ball up and throws you out by 50 feet if he can.
Well, see, he's a career saver.
Yeah. Here's Dwight Evans. He takes ball 1. Dewey grounded to short in the second inning. 0 for 1. Mets 4, Sox 1, bottom of the fourth. The Red Sox came from behind 39 times this year. The Mets, of course, have had their share of tough wins. We've got a long way to go here in the fourth. 1-1. Off speed, but he missed. Ball 2, 2-1. Some of those off-speed pitches he throws, they go up there with the velocity of a fallen leaf. I don't know how he can ever reach the plate when he does it.
Does that with his curveball.
2-1. There's a fastball, and he got away with it. He challenged him low and inside, and Evans is about as good a low ball hitter as there is in the American League.
But he had just thrown that infield fly before that. There's the fastball, low inside, right in the power zone, and Dewey knew it.
He couldn't believe he'd get it. 2-2. And then he changed and turned it over, ball 3. So a full count to Evans, 1 out in the fourth. Chopper out in front of the plate. Carter's on it in fair ground and throws him out.
He made him chase a bad ball. It was out of the strike zone. It was high.
So 2 down in the fourth inning, and Rich Gedman coming up.
Here's the pitch. Carter really checking. You wonder how you can protect yourself as we watch Carter make the play.
Ball 1 to Rich Gedman.
Usually you ask your first baseman if he's playing a normal position, can you see my signs? If he says yes, then you know you're opening up too much. And he's just looking at everybody, both Latchman at third and Riniak at first.
Off speed, they're going to check at third. No swing, says Dale Ford. And the count 2 balls and no strikes. Gedman had 16 home runs this year. Interestingly enough, 14 of them on the road, including 2 grand slams. in there. It's a pretty good shot to right field if you don't go down the line. Down the line is only 302, but it falls away to 380. And he goes the other way. A line drive backhanded by Mookie Wilson. So Gedman lines to left at the end of 4-1 New York. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Tonight's game is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by MCI, communications for the next 100 years.
And Dykstra.
Captain Drew Marshall of Pompano Beach, Florida, and the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise. You know how long it takes to fly the Blimp from Shea Stadium in New York to Boston? It's an 8-hour trip. And Lenny Dykstra, who went all the way around the bases much quicker than that to lead off the game, fouls it off. Dykstra homered and grounded out. For Oil Can Boyd, and perhaps you can blame it on his nervous system, it should not come as too much of a surprise that he gave up the 4 runs in the first inning. In Game 6 of the American League Championship Series, he faced 8 batters and gave up 2 runs in the first inning, then only 1 run the next 6 innings. 1-1. And that's lifted back a short, and it's going to land in front of Jim Rice for a bloop single to left. So Dykstra is aboard, and that breaks the string. He had retired 11 in a row. The last Mets hit was a single by Danny Heath. So a little flair, as the modern day ball player calls it, no longer a Texas leaguer, a flair. And the batter is Wally Backman. Single to right and struck out, 1 for 2. Backman and Dykstra are inseparable buddies during the year. They live very close to each other. Usually they alternate 1 week at a time driving to the ballpark. And if you ask Backman what's the difference, he says Dykstra wears stripes with plaid. He's a beach boy, is Dykstra. Ball 1. And Gedman wants to talk to the can.
Gedman, I'm sure, just wants him to keep his good stuff on the ball, but as always, when Dykstra's on and Backman's in that batter's box, you have to think about this little guy, Backman, bunting the ball and dragging it past Oil Can Boyd, especially with Buckner at first base.
And Dykstra, who led the Mets with 31 stolen bases. Remember, the Sox stole 41 as a team. 1-0 to Wally Backman.
They've got Oil Can and Gedman thinking, and Barrett will have to be the key man at second base to protect Buckner at first base. So they break up the infield, Dykstra and Backman do.
Boggs short on the grass. And there goes Dykstra, hit and run foul ball, and Backman tried to fight it off, hit it into left field, and fouled it into the stand.
He picked the right man because Owen was covering, and that was a good piece of hitting on the part of Backman, because he saw Owen and he's just going to punch that ball even though it was inside. I tell you, these two guys, when they get on, they cause more meetings. Like right now, there's Oil Can Boyd and there's Barrett out there talking. Dykstra still looking at Harrelson to see if anything is on.
There's a pretty good reason, I think, because Dykstra had a tremendous jump. The Can really didn't even look over there, and I think Gedman and Barrett are going out saying, look, this guy runs, you've got to at least look at him. Watch his jump. See, Boyd never looked.
He started early. He started early too.
Yeah. Oh,
and stopped. If he'd have gone that first time, he might have stolen that base.
1 ball and 1 strike to count. Well, we'll keep an eye on Dykstra. Nobody out in the 5th inning. 4-1 Mets. 1-1. If you're the base runner looking over at Oil Can Boyd, remember we mentioned he has a high set. He brings his hands together up above the letters on his chest. And the one thing he did that time, it was a very pronounced set. He slapped his elbows into his sides. Remember the way Joe Morgan used to hit? Well, that's the way he slapped those elbows in.
He can do so many things because Backman is such a good bunter.
going to go over now. Of course, it figured. He got away with it when Backman swung at that pitch. Dykstra's trying desperately to read the Can's move.
He's really bearing down, as you can see on that, and he had ideas.
Pretty good lead, too. He's going 2-1 and swung on and hit to Buckner. He had another good jump. In fact, I was surprised Boyd didn't throw to first because he had such a good lead. So Backman pops out or grounds out it to Buckner, moving Dykstra along, and the batter is Keith Hernandez.
He had 3 steps as he was going towards the plate. Now you can see Dykstra, though, looking towards the plate because the hit-and-run play was on. He wants to see what happens. It was not a straight steal. The other time he had such a big jump that I thought maybe the back